It is seldom to find a true-hearted, boundlessly generous soul in this godless, imperfect, awful mess of a world. Yet there is but one. Preston the kind, Preston the magnanimous, Preston the selfless. You could fill a library with the endless suffixes and titles Preston possesses. His endless generosity is only matched by his sagely intellect. For it was his perspicacity that led to the salvation of the entire continent of Africa and the enlightenment of its denizens. For now, they have all only now discovered Shakespeare. Only Preston's acute shrewdness could possibly think of the ingenious project, Africast, a company. In fact, the only telecommunications company in all of Africa. The idea is to civilize the backwater tribes into a more Western-style modernization by having them become what an ideal white person's dream. To goon endlessly on the internet ad nauseum. After all, it is a pivotal human right to goon to Lola Bunny. Preston would not see such depraved souls go without. Alas, Rome wasn't built in a day. There were many trifling quandaries a ruler, or rather a CEO, must undertake in order to achieve this utopia. At first, it was the UN's Human Rights Organization pestering away endlessly about how Africast is a pseudo-philanthropist front subsidiary to mask the colonial and exploitive means the company was doing. All of their moral quips were decisively answered when Preston proudly proclaimed, "Listen, it is for the greater good. This is the good capitalism this time, I swear it." With the world off of Preston's back, he had but one more thing still standing in his way. These peasants demanding workers' rights. The arrogance to slander the software engineer god that is Preston. The savage union horde gathered in their hovels and dare bite the hand that fed them by declaring a labor strike. They struck without warning. They were equipped with spears and hide shields, besieged the beleaguered company from all sides, like a snake choking the life from its prey. The situation was hopelessly dire. In the opening sequence of the siege, the poor gate bitch was eaten alive by the rampageous horde. The walls were caving in, the defenses were crumbling, but worse of all, the Wi-Fi was going out. Africa would be plunged back into the Dark Age. That is, if it hadn't been for the brave actions taken by none other than Preston the Savior. He led a heroic charge into the unsuspecting flank of the turncoat employees. The union's organized retreat turned into a terror rout. It was every African for themselves. Preston gave no quarter to traitors. Those who did survive the onslaught retreated back to their mud huts to gather whatever they had left. But there was no need for Preston to pursuit. He would simply turn off their Wi-Fi and starve them out, and let their porn addiction consume them into surrender. The Gooners' constitution betrayed them. They resorted to copulating fucking anything and everything, including catcher's mitt and themselves. But, as planned, those who hadn't killed themselves eventually turned themselves over to Preston's thrall to stand before his iron-fisted judgment. Those who were the head ringleaders of the Union were all nailed onto milestone crosses 1 mile across each other, to point towards the direction of Africast's nearest subhuman resources. The rest of the lowly peons were granted the most Herculean clemency. They would now be Preston's indentured servants and serve the noble cause of civilizing all of Africa through Preston's astute authority. Generations have long passed since the Battle of Africast. It had changed not only the fate of Africa, but the course of the whole planet. Since then, everything is now conglomerated into Africast. Food, shelter, water, media, infrastructure, everything you can think of all belongs to Africast. Old Earth has now become Preston's Earth, sponsored by Africast. You cannot go 1 mile without seeing a dozen of statues dedicated towards the All-Father God. That is Preston Garfield. Hallowed be thy name. Our launch pad is set in the super capital of the planet, Wakanda, known in the old times as Atlanta, Georgia, before Africast. The mission is set for tomorrow. We will embark on a great colonization of other planets, much like Africa in those times of old Earth. One people, one company. We are all Africasters. Hail to Africast.